Money FM 89.3, best of breakfast. Mind your business, only on Money FM 89.3.
Welcome to Money FM 89.3. Audrey Seek taking you through today's Mind Your Business. Now, these days, if you want to succeed in the digital world, whether in marketing, design, or technology, you, of course, need the right skills. But here's the catch. As demand for talent grows, so does the pressure to have the right qualifications. So what happens if you don't have that perfect degree or diploma? Does that mean the door to opportunity is shut? Now, for many, including youths from underserved backgrounds, mid-career switchers, and people with disabilities, breaking into these industries can feel like an uphill battle. Well, our next guest is on a mission to change that. He's helped over 1,500 learners gain industry-ready skills and even introduced Singapore's first outcome-based payment model where students only pay after landing a job. So that means his company's success is directly tied to theirs. So how is he bridging the gap between talent and industry, reshaping inclusive education, and making workforce development more accessible? Let's find out from Victor Zhu, founder and CEO of Hatch. Good morning, Victor. Great to have you with us today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. What an interesting premise. But let's start with the big picture. How did the idea for Hatch Academy come about?
Yeah, I think carrying on from like what you and Ryan was talking about, that like what helps you to land into your first job. It is, I think what we see, it's a mix of qualifications, which sometimes gets you through the interview door and things like that. And beyond that, it's skills and experience. When we were starting Hatch, there was kind of this conversation that like we need to move beyond qualifications. And I think people were talking about it on a more theoretical, like principle stance of like, oh yeah, of course we should move beyond qualifications.
Yeah.
But what we do see, and I think what employers tell us is that like beyond qualifications, sure, we can move beyond it, but what do we use to benchmark across? Like how do we use to find the right candidates?
Yeah.
So for us, I think it's very practical. It's skills, and specifically like what are the skills that you can reflect in a portfolio. Portfolio to us has the aspect of showing like demonstratable work. And beyond that, also like if you're able to write out the thought process, the process whereby you approach this particular piece of project, that's extremely valuable. So I think Hatch Academy was set up to really focus on this aspect of helping people pick up the skills, demonstrate them, and to get them a job.
Okay, so we know that Hatch Academy focuses on training individuals from diverse backgrounds and preparing them for careers in emerging industries. So what makes your approach different from other, let's say, training schools or institutions that focus on specific industries?
Yeah, I think two aspects. The first is that if we are looking at individuals who are from under-resourced backgrounds, sometimes you got to be a lot more practical about the curriculum. You don't always have the luxury of going full on into like the theory, the fundamentals. So I think for us, we kind of have to keep that aspect of making the program effective, but at the same time recognizing that you have a limited time with every learner. It's a actual like explicit cost that they bear paying for a program, and also an opportunity cost for them to spend time. So you kind of have to keep it short, but you can't keep it too short because it has to work, right? Which leads to the second part that when we work with learners from diverse backgrounds, there's a lot more, I think, customization of the curriculum that we have to do. So it's not just about like, oh, this is what like people need to know going into the industry, but rather like for us, we need to think about what is the approach that we need to take for the learner to pick up the skills.
Yeah, because everyone learns differently as well. So we want to know who turns to you for help. Who typically joins Hatch Academy? And is your program mostly for young learners, or do you also work with mid-career professionals, or do you appeal to everybody?
Yeah, I think our current profile, we have a lot of early career professionals, so individuals between the ages of 18 to 30. I would say it's more of like a self-selection kind of thing. We've never really like had any age restrictions. But by the nature of our program, we are more effective. And I think we cater better to learners who are at the starting out phase. They really want to pick up a skill, especially in like the emerging like tech and digital fields.
Yeah.
And to enter into it and subsequently to kind of learn from there. The converse of it is there are particular fields that are professional fields. We don't do accounting, like medicine, lawyers. There are also particular fields where you require a very high in-depth knowledge. So these are areas like data scientists.
Okay.
So we don't go into those areas, but for the ones that I would say it's like the more front-end tech roles, I think that's where the sweet spot is for us.
Okay, so give us an idea. Who's your youngest person at Hatch Academy versus the oldest? Like, give us an age range here.
Yeah, so our general age range is 18 to 30.
Okay.
I would say that actually our youngest learner was 16.
Wow, young.
So I mentioned that like we work with different profiles, and as part of that, we do a lot of customization. One of the customized programs that we run, and this program is still running, it's our customized program for youths who dropped out from school.
Okay.
So for out-of-school youths or non-progressors, which are if you finished O-levels, N-levels, and you didn't proceed on to tertiary education. Yeah, so for this program, we sometimes get learners who are at the 16, 17 age range. And for these learners, like they may have recently like dropped out for school for some reason. Sometimes it's mental health. And if they're interested in the digital design field, they come to us, they pick up the skills, and then we're able to bridge them to the jobs.
So how long does a typical program last at Hatch?
Yeah, so our programs ranges from 8 to 12 weeks. And we also do both the part-time and full-time modalities.
Okay. So your business has two main arms, I believe. There's Hatch Academy, which offers the skills training in digital marketing and UX UI design. And then there's Hatch Media House, right, which provides digital and design services to SMEs and nonprofits. What inspired you to kind of structure your business in this way? And why did you focus on digital marketing and UX UI?
Yeah. Starting with the second question first on digital marketing and UX UI, I think it's where we see the intersection of demand being coming up really fast. I think particularly for digital marketing, especially with COVID, businesses are forced to move online. I think like digital marketing used to be this field where you're looking at corporates or you're looking at like fast-growing startups. But I think since COVID, digital marketing has become that space where all SMEs have to explore. And I think it's something that it's relatively newer to SMEs. That's where there's kind of that market demand there. So, and at the same time, digital marketing and UX design, they don't have a very strict barriers to entry. Technically, if you're looking at software engineering, right, you could say that, software engineering is also skills-based. But fundamental to software engineering, you kind of need that foundation in like algebra to be able to do that. So that's kind of how we landed at these two areas. So Hatch Academy came first.
Okay.
7 years in the running. Hatch Media House came during COVID. Right, so in Hatch Academy, most of our programs are a train and place modality. Okay. So you go through 8 to 12 weeks of training. At the end of it, we match them to companies. During COVID, nobody was hiring. It's headcount freeze everywhere. But we had students that we were like training, right? And I think something that we are extremely mindful about is that at the point of graduation is at the peak of kind of your confidence, your proficiency. And it was important to match the learners out to jobs as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Right. So sure, it was COVID, and like in a way, I think a lot of the students don't expect to be matched because they know it's hard for everybody, even the ones who have experience. Right. But for us, it's like no, it's extremely important. And I think we were looking at the landscape. So we had a bunch of learners graduating. We couldn't match them to other companies. But one opportunity that we saw was that there was a lot of businesses that have very immediate project needs, right? SMEs who circuit breaker came, right? And then they're like, they never thought about digital channels, right? So we're like, okay, sounds like it's a doable project. It's exactly what we teach the learners in the course. Okay, so we look at website builds, we look at social media management. I think over time, even after COVID, I think we kind of learned that this is an ongoing gap that exists. So then we expanded our services as well, right? We look at brand management, brand strategy. ads management, and also right now we're also doing video content creation.
Okay. So a standout feature of Hatch Academy, which I really want to talk about, is this outcome-based payment model where students really only pay after landing a job. So tell us how this works exactly, and is there kind of like a time limit for securing a job before they have to make like a full payment?
Yeah, so when, like chronologically, right, like when students first come in, we do ask them to pay like a deposit. The main point here is to ensure that you're committed to completing the program.
Okay.
Right, and afterwards, you start learning. Like what Ryan said, it is learn now, pay later, although it's a little bit more nuanced than that. And yeah, so the course starts for the outcomes-based course. It's a part-time digital marketing course. And after learners finish the program in 12 weeks, our program team will work together with the learner to look at aspects of how can you showcase the skills that you have to build out your portfolio. We also have a partner of network companies who kind of trust the candidates that we referred to them previously and continue to hire from us. So we match learners to these companies. If everything goes out well, learners are matched. So after an individual earns a monthly salary of $2,800 and more, they contribute, they pay back a percentage of their income.
Okay,
right?
Got
and
it.
You pay back until you hit a payment cap.
Okay.
Right, so the payment cap is $4,800. So after you've paid the amount, like that's it. Right.
Okay. So what happens, I have to ask, if a graduate doesn't find employment for an extended period of time?
Yeah, you just don't pay for it.
You just don't pay.
Yeah, you just don't pay.
Okay, so with such a unique payment structure, how does Hatch kind of sustain this business model?
Yeah, I think on the financial sense, when we did the projections, it makes sense to us because like we were looking at historical data on like the students' placements. And I think in a way, by offering this outcome-based model, what we're doing, we're not taking on the risk of the students getting placed. The risk has always been there. We're just sharing that risk with them.
So you've also partnered with various enterprises to create a more inclusive kind of workforce. Could you share some of these collaborations?
Yeah, so I think accessibility, we don't really use that word as much in our communications, but I think it's quite core in a way. Like when we talk about it, we want to make sure that the benefits of digital extends out to everybody. So a lot of our collaborations come with working specifically with like agencies that support different groups that may have trouble breaking into tech. So one example, which is the one that I mentioned, we have a customized program for out-of-school youths. So for that program, we collaborate a lot with the social service agencies, social service officers, and also the ministry, where they will refer use of this profile to us, and the customized program there is able to bridge them to jobs.
Okay.
The second one is our collaboration with SG Enable, which is the focal agency for persons with disabilities. So we're looking at how can we help PWDs enter into digital-related roles.
That's great.
A lot of existing job options for them tends more towards the vocational side. There's some of them with some form of interest, especially the younger ones in tech. And we're looking at how can we provide support. So similar like training program with placement support afterwards.
Okay, so Victor, since you've been in this space for a while now, what do you have to say about the traditional education system, and what kind of impact do you hope to make through Hatch Academy?
Yeah, I think the traditional system works for some and not for others. And I think it worked for me, right? Like I went through that system. I think that's great, right? If it works for you, that's great. But I think where we see and also feel the most is for the individuals where this traditional system don't work out as well, right? So I've mentioned youths who may be out of school or persons with disabilities, but I think a group that we are feeling a lot for are mid-career transitioners, right? And I'm personally realizing this, and I think it's extremely interesting that when we are looking at the current group of learners, that means our younger learners who are entering the industry, the questions they have in their head is, what are the skills that I have, and correspondingly, what are the jobs that I can do?
Yes.
Right. But if you ask the older folks, maybe like after like the 30s and your 40s, I think there's kind of this association that whatever you do professionally has to link very, very closely to what you studied. And I think that is that concept. I think it probably made a lot of sense in the past, but I think that is also something that nowadays in the industry is not so. It doesn't have to be so fixed. It doesn't have to be that like you study accounting, you have to be an accountant. There are some transferable skills.
Yeah.
So I think with the work that we do, with the program, with the outcomes-based program that we launched, I think it's helping folks like that, like transit, especially if like sometimes like practically, I mean that there is the aspirational part that like, oh, I really love tech and things like that. But sometimes practically like maybe you're currently in the sunset industry, right?
Okay.
And you have to do like you need to transit out in some way. And then maybe that's just finding like the most suitable point or domain or industry that you want to transit into.
Yeah.
And if digital is your thing, then I think we are trying to position ourselves to suit those needs.
Yeah, times are changing and we need to get on board. Career success isn't just about having the right qualifications, though. It's about having the right opportunities. And through Hatch, Victor is proving that skills, determination, and the right support can help anyone thrive in the digital economy. Victor, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We've been speaking with Victor Zhu, founder and CEO of Hatch. Keep it here on Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.